Hello everybody and welcome to Wesley's Plant World with me, Wesley Peterson. And not long ago I did a video for you all about my Narcissus cross cyclazetta Têtê-à-tête, and I gave some care tips about these plants and what you should do with them when they're spent, if you have them as a plant on display in your home, in an apartment or a house, and then you don't know what to do with them. Well, I said never throw them away. You can always plant them out in your garden. So here I am in my garden here at Crystal Cottage, and this is the area called West Side Garden, and I have a border behind me here with these lovely rocks going on in the middle and so forth, where I don't have many perennial plants at the moment. So this is a perfect place for me to place out as many of these daffodils as possible so that they will come up in the early season with their beautiful flowers during April, May, and then I can put myself some plants in here that are perennials that will flower during the summer months of June, July and August. So perfect, because I have a blank slate near enough, and I'm going to absolutely fill out this border completely because I want to have this hive of yellow next spring season, and I'm really looking forward to that. So it is May at the moment, and of course this is not the time of the year that you would go out and buy bulbs to plant in your garden normally. But when you get them in the state that I have them right now, which is like this, they've been planted in pots above the soil with their bulbs, and these leaves are very much needed by the plant to be able to sustain energy. They need to be able to photosynthesize, to be able to take the light energy of the sun and convert it into starch and sugar so that they can grow healthy, beautiful bulbs. So if you do get them like this, you need to make sure you keep the leaves on, but prune off the heads if you want to get healthy bulbs and more flowers next season. So I'm going to be planting these like they are here in their groups in this border so it goes quicker for me, and because I'd like to have that thicker effect. But you can split every single bulb, just rip them apart, it won't do anything to them, and it doesn't matter if you rip the roots. Those bulbs will still be able to come up next year if you want to spread them out even more. And if you haven't seen my first video, then I suggest you go back and see that video so you can get some care tips about these lovely plants and see me pruning off the flower heads on these, because otherwise they will go over to seed and spend all their energy on seed rather than their bulbs. And these plants like this, they've already been stressed out, they're dry, above ground, and so you need to take off the spent flower heads to give them a good fighting chance for the next season. Let's get these planted. Now this is a job that's going to take me quite some time, so I'm just going to start on one side, and I need to get my gloves on for this because this is going to be a bit of a dirty job. And seeing as it's going to take quite some time, there will be some fast forward. Now I do have other things going on in here. I have roses coming up on either side, I can see. I have my red dogwood in the middle. I have a little bit of ground covering and spreading flux. And I have some euonymus in here that I'm testing out to see if they will be able to carry on growing out. I have grasses that grow up around the back and they get around 1 meter tall, which is very nice. So for now, I just want to get these in the ground. I have plenty of space and plenty of time. Let's go. Now, if you did this in the right season, I just want to say, then that would be in the autumn, of course. And then you wouldn't have to worry about planting them out in this way, keeping all of the leaves on the plants and above the ground. So it would go much quicker for you because you could excavate out areas of ground, throw in your bulbs, and yes, the best way is to have them facing the right way up, but you can throw them into holes, plant them, and they don't always have to be the right way up. They will figure it out themselves. They are specialized in finding their way up towards the surface of the soil and towards the sky and where the light is and where their food source is going to be coming from in the form of light energy. So this way I'm doing it, of course, is going to take so much longer, but it's also going to be rewarding. So I think it's worth it. And I'm just going to be putting them anywhere and everywhere I have to place a plant, because I really do have a lot of them. And the soil here is very loose and airy and free draining, which is what these plants like. And it's elevated because I made myself a no-dig border where I put in soil above the level of the grass out here. So you can see that this drains down and it stays moist when it's moist, but not all the time. It has periods of drying out. But the rocks around help also to sustain moisture, heat, and the microbiodiversity of the soil and the symbiosis with different insects like ants and your earthworms that are very important for your plants. They give nutrients by breaking down organic matter around your plants and things like that. Doing things like this, I just think, is an absolute joy, being outside in nature, just enjoying the elements, knowing that you're creating something that's going to be beautiful, and knowing that you have to have patience to wait for it for another season. I think that's also wonderful. This border, as I said, I'm going to be planting out some different other perennials that are going to flower later on. And I'm actually thinking I might want to put sage in here. I think sage would be quite nice. Different coloured sage. And then I know that they would flower later in the season while these bulbs die back. And other things as well. Another thing I forgot to mention is when you're doing this, make sure you have some kind of a knee pad for your knees, because otherwise you're going to have a pain. This is going to take me quite some time to get right around here. So I have myself a plastic knee pad, and it's helping me an awful lot to get this done. This also gives me an opportunity to weed out a little bit. I'm really excited to see while I'm doing this, I have a lot of earthworms coming up, which means I have a very healthy soil, and that makes me extremely pleased. Soil with earthworms is just magic, because the earthworms give so much nutrients back to your plants, and they are really important. And these plants are going to help with that situation, because when the leaves die back and yellow off, they will go back down into the soil, and the earthworms will recycle them into nutrients that will go back into the soil around all of these bulbs. It's just a perfect way of carrying on the cycle. There's also something really nice about being able to have so many of these bulbs together to get this mass effect. It looks just so much more in your face. It just shouts and screams, look at me, look at us with our beautiful yellow heads. We are gorgeous, and you can't help loving them. It just really is an amazing display when you have a lot of daffodils together. So as you can see, I'm already, let's say, a third of the way around, but I still have more that I want to put up in the middle as well. So we're just going to carry on with this until we are done. I must say, I'm just loving doing this right now. This is one of those jobs where it takes a little bit of time to do something, and now that I'm kind of halfway, you can see the green starting to pile on into this border, and I'm starting to move on into my zone, and I'm just here in the moment, and oh, it's so fresh and lovely outside. I have blue sky, the sun is coming around from the east towards the south over there, and I just feel blessed. I love doing this. So as you can see, I've managed to get quite a lot done, and I think it's looking fabulous. Now my border's not brown anymore with just soil, it's actually green with all these leaves of all these beautiful daffodils. And now I just need to get up in the back and put more in the middle and all over around there. And this is very exciting. I'm looking forward to my Cornus albus sibirica to come up in the middle here again. I pruned it right back, and I actually did a video where I showed how I go and prune back my Cornus albus sibirica and other types of Cornus bushes, the red dogwood. So I'm hoping this is going to flush up because it had some stems on it that had been bitten back by the deer and so forth. And when you cut them quite far back like this, they usually produce a lot more stems. So I'm hoping this is going to fill out with its lovely red stems in the middle of this border this year. And if it doesn't take off, then I will find myself another perennial bush to put in here. So let me carry on now with filling out the back of here because I have a few left of these. And to do this, because I have a crate and I have a rock, I can just put them up there and I can get myself around the back. And the only thing I need to be careful of is my grass that's coming up at the back here. I don't want to crush that down. And we'll see how I go. So I have space for my legs here. I don't need my padding at the moment because I'm going to have to stand up a little bit and see if I can get some of my bulbs in at the back in the middle here. So as you can see, I'm having to climb around a little bit on my border here, but that's part of the fun. Finding new spaces to put new plants. That's always a joy. This is starting to get fabulous. So there we have it. I am all done, all planted, and I really can't tell you how many plants I've planted out here in groups. Each group had at least 6 to maybe up to 8 daffodil bulbs, and well, you can see the whole border is filled out. And you can expect that next year many of these will get flowers on them and some won't, because these bulbs have been very stressed. They've been in a very dry condition in pots, and this is the natural state of daffodils. They like to be in the ground, they like their bulbs under the soil where they're protected. So now I hope that these bulbs are going to be able to plump up and fill up with all the moisture that's going on in this free draining soil here. And this soil is a mixture of clay, sand and a gardening mix that I piled on a while back and mixed together. So it's very loose and airy. It's a very good soil for bulbs actually. And well, I'm just enjoying that this is all green right now, and now I'm really looking forward to putting myself some perennial plants in amongst these that will give flowers during the summertime. And then when all these fade back and give goodness back to the soil, then I can appreciate what comes up next year. This is going to be so beautiful next April, May, and I just can't wait for that moment now. So let me take you in just for a quick closer look so you can see what this looks like now, and then we'll have to come back and have a look at all this next April, May time. Who knows? So I'm sitting out here and I'm thinking this is a lesson in patience again, because it's May right now and I know I have to wait one whole year until I get to see the fruits of my labor with all these yellow flowers all over this border next year. But until then, I'll enjoy the leaves and all the perennials, and hopefully my bush that comes up there and all my grass that's going to come up around the back, and it's just wonderful. And another thing I absolutely love about this border are my rocks. I have a huge love for rocks and boulders. They're full of energy, they heat up the border, and they give homes for the biodiversity, all the insects and amphibians and reptiles and all sorts that I have going on in my garden here. So altogether, it becomes a fantastic place for both plants and animals. So let's go in now and take a closer look at all of these leaves. So, seeing as I'm working in my west side garden here, I thought I'd give you some perspective of where the border that I'm working on is right now. So we'll go further down and then I'll turn around here and you will get to see the border with all of these wonderful daffodils in it now. Look at that. Just by planting them in and having their leaves up like this has already brightened up this border before I put different perennial plants with flowers in it. And look at all the gorgeous boulders in here that I've found round and about in my garden and lifted and placed here to create this border edge. I think this is looking absolutely fantastic. And some of the daffodils that I already had in the border, you can see here, still have some of their flowers on them. They're a different type. They're actually a little bit shorter than the ones I've just planted. So I've planted the others just in amongst them. And if I go right back here, you can see that this border, down here, you can see our crystal cottage up there in the left, our annex in the right, and this border down here in West Side Garden. So I am really pleased about all of this. And we'll see how this works out with time, because I just love experimenting and I love using plants that may be on the sales rack or not looking so good and giving them a second chance. There we go. Fabulous. Home sweet home. So I hope you've enjoyed seeing my border closer up and the development of it now full of bulbs. And the wonderful thing about it is that I know that I'll get to appreciate the flowers that come up from these every year, because the deer that go around in my garden will not eat them. They are poisonous for both deer and humans, and so they are not going to be eaten by anything. And I know that this hive of colour is going to be able to brighten up every springtime from now on. And I really don't have to do anything else with these plants. The soil is moist. That's perfect for these plants. They don't want to be overwatered or bogged down in water, otherwise they will rot away. And when it dries out, that's also fine. They'll get a bit of water every now and again if I go in and water my perennials later during the summer, and they'll be absolutely fine with that. They don't need anything else. There's so much goodness in the soil here that they don't need to be fertilized or anything like that. So I hope this has inspired you to go and plant out your bulbs of any kind. If you get bulbs that you use for special occasions or in your home, when they're spent, you do not need to throw the bulbs away. You can keep them, you can plant them out and give them a chance. If they work, they work. If they don't, they don't. But at least you've given them a chance to come back and do what they do. And that is replenish themselves and give beautiful joy and a display of flowers every single year. Now, another thing I want to tell you is that I'm going to be making another video about another type of daffodil, where I'm going to be doing a tightly knit arrangement with those, and those still have their flowers on them that are still quite nice, and I want to plant those with their flowers on so we can get to see the effect already now this year. So make sure you see that video as well. So I really hope you've been inspired to do a little thing or two with your own bulbs. And remember, as I said, I put these in arrangements from the pot directly. You can split them up and split every single bulb and spread them around as much as you want. But the most important thing is that you have fun with your bulbs. So all I have to say now is thank you very much for watching this video. Please remember to like, subscribe and hit the bell so you know when my next video will be coming up. And I will see you again very, very soon. Goodbye.